You know those cookie-cutter suburbs where every lawn looks like it was cut with laser precision and every house smiles back at you from the street? Welcome to Maple Grove Estates, the kind of place real estate agents drool over in brochures. White picket fences, blooming rose bushes, kids on bikes yelling hi to every passing car. On the surface, it's pure Americana, the American dream wrapped in a tidy HOA bow. But peel back one layer and you'll find the real story. A web of ridiculous rules, whispered rumors, and one woman who treated the whole neighborhood like her personal kingdom. I'm Ethan Caldwell, 38, remote software engineer, single dad to my 10-year-old daughter Lily. After the divorce last year, we moved here for the good schools and safe streets. Safe, sure, if you didn't mind signing away your soul in 30 pages of covenants. The first red flag came 6 months after we unpacked. A crisp, white envelope from the HOA landed in my mailbox. Violation notice. Mailbox color deviates from approved palette. $50 for a shade of gray that was apparently 2 tones too dark. I laughed it off, paid it, figured it was a one-time thing. It wasn't. 2 months later, another letter. My trash cans had been visible from the street for 11 whole minutes on garbage day. Another 75. Then Lily's bike left on the driveway overnight became visual clutter. Each time the same messenger showed up on my porch. Linda Whitaker, HOA president, clipboard in one hand, pearl necklace gleaming like a crown. She'd flash that saccharine smile and say, "We just want to keep our community beautiful, Ethan dear. Standards matter." Her eyes, though, said something else entirely. Obey or else. I kept my head down. Paid the fines. Smiled through the passive-aggressive neighborhood Facebook posts she loved to write. A gentle reminder that curb appeal is everyone's responsibility, while half the block nodded along like trained seals. But the real kicker came with the internet. I work from home. Lily does online school. Fast connection isn't a luxury, it's oxygen. One Tuesday, my Zoom call started buffering like it was 1998. I ran a network scan and nearly fell out of my chair. Connected devices, Grandma Barb TV, Kevin S. gaming rig, Smith family smart fridge, even HOA's PC. I kid you not. Half the neighborhood was leeching my signal like it was free neighborhood Wi-Fi. I stared at the list, jaw tight. These were the same people who fined me for a slightly off-color mailbox, but thought nothing of stealing hundreds of dollars of bandwidth every month. The irony burned. I could have confronted them politely, but after 2 years of Linda's clipboard tyranny, I was done being the nice guy who gets walked on. I reset the router, created a password that looked like a CIA encryption key, 32 random characters, and changed the SSID to not your free internet. Then I sat back and waited. The next morning I was deep in a client meeting when the pounding started. Not a knock. A full-on assault on my front door like someone was trying to break it down with a battering ram. I muted the call, heart already racing, and peeked through the peephole. There she was, Linda Whitaker, face flushed the color of a ripe tomato, perm vibrating with righteous fury, HOA badge pinned to her pastel cardigan like a sheriff's star. She was pointing one perfectly manicured finger straight at my doorbell camera. I opened the door a crack. "Linda, what? You?" she shrieked before I could finish. "What have you done to the internet? My grandkids can't stream their cartoons. I have important association emails. You cannot just turn off the community Wi-Fi." Community Wi-Fi? I almost laughed out loud. "Linda, it's my private account. I pay the bill every month. I found half the block connected and secured my own network. That's it." Her chest puffed out like a balloon. "I am the president of this homeowners association. Everything that affects our property values is my business. You are selfishly hoarding a resource the entire neighborhood relies on." I tried showing her the bill on my phone, my name, my address, my monthly charges, but she swatted the screen away like it was offensive. "Because your signal reaches my house, it becomes communal property. That's how it works here." The argument circled for 10 solid minutes, her voice rising with every loop. Neighbors started cracking doors open, pretending to water flowers while actually rubbernecking. I kept my tone calm, but inside I was boiling. This was the same woman who'd fined me for a bike and a mailbox, now screaming that I owed her free internet. The entitlement was almost impressive. Finally, she whipped out her phone with the drama of a courtroom lawyer. "That's it. I'm calling the police." You're causing a public disturbance and stealing community resources. I honestly thought she was bluffing. Who calls 911 over a Wi-Fi password? Linda Whitaker, apparently. She dialed right there on my porch, voice trembling with fake tears. Yes, officer, there's a man at 142 Maple Grove Lane who's maliciously cut off the neighborhood's internet. He's hoarding it for himself. Please send someone immediately. She hung up, smug as a cat with cream. They'll be here soon. We'll see who's right, Ethan. I stood there speechless, watching the woman who'd spent 2 years policing my mailbox now weaponize the police over my router. The quiet suburban morning suddenly felt like the opening scene of every bad neighbor horror story I'd ever heard. And it was only getting started. 15 minutes later, 2 squad cars rolled up, lights flashing like it was a felony in progress. My stomach dropped. Neighbors were openly standing on lawns now, phones out, recording for the Maple Grove gossip mill. Linda was already in position, arms crossed, ready for her Oscar-worthy performance. Officer Miller, a tall no-nonsense guy in his 40s, and Officer Davis, his younger partner, stepped out. Linda launched immediately. Officers, thank goodness. This man, she jabbed a finger at me, has deliberately cut off the community's internet access. He's hoarding bandwidth and disrupting every household. My grandkids can't watch educational programming. Officer Miller looked at me, then back at her, eyebrow raised. Sir, can you explain? I kept my voice steady, the same calm I use in board meetings. Officers, it's my private internet service. I pay for it. I discovered multiple unauthorized devices connected, neighbors' TVs, computers, fridges. I secured my own network. Here's the bill with my name on it. I handed over my phone. Officer Davis took it, scrolling. Ma'am, do you pay any portion of this bill? Linda sputtered. Well, no, but it's always been available. It's practically a community amenity. Miller sighed. Ma'am, that's not how the law works. You can't use someone else's Wi-Fi without permission. That's unauthorized access. And calling 911 for this, that's misuse of emergency services. I thought that would shut it down. A warning, maybe a ticket for her, and we'd all go back inside. But Linda wasn't done. She launched into a full theatrical rant about protecting property values and selfish residents who think rules don't apply to them. Her voice carried down the block. More doors opened. Someone even yelled, "Get him, Linda," from across the street. While Miller tried to de-escalate, Davis's sharp eyes wandered. He stepped off the porch, walking slowly toward Linda's yard next door. Her pride and joy sat there, a massive, ornate stone fountain gurgling away, water sparkling in the morning sun. The thing must have cost thousands and guzzled electricity like a monster. Davis crouched, staring at the base. Ma'am, he called, voice suddenly serious. What's this cable? A thick black industrial cord snaked from the fountain's pump, running discreetly along the foundation, disappearing into a city utility access box at the curb. It was blatant. Not some garden light wire, professional, permanent, and completely illegal. Linda's face drained from tomato red to ghost white in half a second. Oh, that. Just some old wiring my late husband installed for the garden lights. Nothing to worry about. Her voice cracked on the last word. Davis didn't buy it. He radioed for backup, then turned to Miller. We've got an illegal power tap here. Straight into the city grid. The shift in atmosphere was instant. Miller's friendly demeanor vanished. Ma'am, you're telling me you've been stealing electricity from the city to run this fountain? Linda stammered, hands fluttering. It was years ago. I didn't know it was still connected. My husband handled all that. But the officers weren't listening to excuses anymore. They photographed the cable, measured it, and called the utility company on the spot. The irony hit me like a freight train. Here was the woman who'd just tried to have me arrested for stealing community resources, while literally stealing thousands of dollars of city power for her showpiece fountain. Neighbors who'd been cheering her on moments ago now whispered among themselves. Phones turned from me to her yard. Linda's perfect HOA empire was cracking right in front of everyone, and the best part? She had brought the police herself. The officers kept Linda talking while they documented everything. She tried every angle, tears, blaming the contractor, claiming ignorance. But the evidence was ironclad. That cable wasn't temporary. It had been professionally spliced years ago and hidden just well enough that casual eyes missed it. The fountain alone probably ran her electric bill up by hundreds a month, all paid by the city. Officer Miller read her rights in that calm cop voice that somehow makes everything sound worse. Ma'am, this is felony theft of utilities. We'll be forwarding everything to the power company. Expect investigators and possibly criminal charges. Linda's pearl-clutching mask shattered. She whipped around to me, eyes wide with genuine panic. Ethan, please. Tell them it's a misunderstanding. I'll get my own internet. I'll drop all the fines against you. Just make this go away. I looked at the woman who'd spent 2 years making my life miserable over mailbox shades and bike placement. The same woman who'd called the cops on me for protecting my own property. Now she was begging the guy she tried to ruin. The dark humor of it all almost made me laugh. Linda, I said quietly, you're the one who wanted the police here. You're the one who said we'd see who was right. Looks like we found out. She actually flinched. For the first time in years, the Queen of Maple Grove had nothing to say. By now 3 more neighbors had wandered over, pretending concerned but clearly loving the drama. Mrs. Patel from 2 doors down, who'd been fined last month for excessive holiday lights, muttered. All this time she was lecturing us about rules. The utility crew arrived within the hour, bright orange vests and serious tools. They killed the power to the fountain mid-gurgle. The water slowed to a sad trickle while they cut the illegal splice and installed a new meter, on Linda's dime, of course. The lead tech whistled low. Lady, you've been running this thing on stolen juice for at least 5 years. Back bill estimate is north of 20 grand, plus fines. Linda stood on her driveway in designer sandals, watching her beloved fountain go dark, face crumpled like a used tissue. The same woman who'd posted weekly Facebook rants about personal responsibility was now the poster child for hypocrisy. Officer Davis pulled me aside before they left. Sorry for the circus, Mr. Caldwell. You did nothing wrong. In fact, you might have done the neighborhood a favor. He gave me a nod that felt like quiet approval. As the police cars pulled away, the block stayed outside. Whispers turned to open conversation. Did you see that cable? She fined me $50 for my flagpole height while stealing power. The gossip train had left the station and Linda was tied to the tracks. I went back inside, closed the door, and finally exhaled. Lily peeked around the corner. Dad, is the mean lady going to jail? Not jail today, kiddo. But she's definitely paying for a lot more than Wi-Fi. The rest of the afternoon, I fielded texts from neighbors I barely knew, some apologizing for believing Linda's stories, others thanking me for finally standing up. My internet. Lightning fast. No more buffering. No more leeches. For the first time in 2 years, Maple Grove felt a little less like a prison and a little more like home. But I knew this wasn't over. Linda Whitaker didn't lose gracefully. And the HOA emergency meeting scheduled for that evening was going to be fireworks. The emergency HOA meeting was called for 7 p.m. in the community clubhouse, the same place Linda had hosted her Standards Matter luncheons with tiny cucumber sandwiches and passive-aggressive agendas. Tonight the room was packed. Folding chairs scraped, people whispered, phones recorded discreetly. I sat in the back row, arms crossed, just watching. Linda arrived late, makeup freshly applied but eyes puffy. She tried to bang the gavel like nothing happened. Order. We have important business about maintaining our beautiful standards. The room didn't buy it. Mr. Johnson from the cul-de-sac stood first. Linda, we all saw the cable. You lectured us for years about rules while stealing electricity from the whole city. Murmurs swelled into open outrage. Someone shouted, how many of our fines actually went to your fountain fund? Linda's voice rose shrill. This is a private matter. The association is about community, not personal attacks. But the board members, 3 of whom she'd handpicked, were already squirming. One quietly slid a resignation letter across the table. Another read aloud from the bylaws. Any board member found violating local, state, or federal law shall be removed immediately. The vote was unanimous. Linda Whitaker was out. She sat there stunned, gavel still in hand, as the room erupted in applause. Not for her, for justice. The same people who'd nodded along to her every edict now turned on her like sharks smelling blood. After the meeting, she cornered me in the parking lot, voice low and desperate. Ethan, you have to help me. The utility company wants $23,000. My reputation, my position, everything's gone. I looked at her, the woman who'd once made my daughter cry over a silly bike rule. Linda, you called the cops on me for protecting what's mine. You tried to ruin my livelihood over a password. Maybe next time you'll think twice before playing judge, jury, and executioner in your little kingdom. She had no comeback. Just stood there under the streetlight, perm deflated, pearls suddenly looking cheap. Words spread like wildfire by morning. The local paper even ran a tiny piece. HOA president busted for utility theft after Wi-Fi dispute. Neighbors started removing the Linda for president yard signs they'd been pressured to display. Her fountain stayed dry and sad, a monument to her fall. I kept my new password, added a few extra security layers just in case, and watched the neighborhood breathe easier. Lily's school calls were crystal clear. My work meetings never dropped. And for the first time, when I walked to the mailbox, no one was waiting with a clipboard. But the sweetest part came 3 days later when the utility investigator knocked on my door, not to accuse, but to thank me. Your complaint indirectly uncovered years of theft. Cities recovering thousands because of that day. I smiled. Just a guy protecting his Wi-Fi. He laughed. Well, you protected a lot more than that. Weeks passed and Maple Grove Estates slowly healed. The new HOA president, an actual reasonable retired accountant named Mr. Reynolds, immediately repealed 3 of Linda's pettiest rules. Mailbox colors? Free choice within reason. Bikes on driveways? Fine after sunset. The atmosphere felt lighter, like someone had opened all the windows after years of stuffy control. Linda sold her house 6 months later. She couldn't handle the stairs, the whispers, the dry fountain that became a running neighborhood joke. There goes the stolen water feature. Last I heard, she moved to a condo downtown where HOAs don't exist and nobody cares about curb appeal. I still live on Maple Grove Lane. Lily's thriving in school. My internet is blazing fast, and every once in a while a new neighbor will stop by, coffee in hand, and ask, "Hey, is it true about the old president and the cable?" I just smile and say, let's just say some people learn the hard way that rules apply to everyone, including the ones making them. Looking back, the whole saga started with something as simple as a Wi-Fi password. But it exposed something much bigger, the rot hiding behind perfect lawns and polite smiles. Linda Whitaker thought she could control everything, internet, mailboxes, people, until the very system she worshipped turned on her. The police she summoned became the ones who exposed her. The neighbors she bullied became the ones who voted her out. The power she stole became the bill that bankrupted her little empire. There's a delicious kind of justice in that. The kind that makes you sit on your porch on a quiet suburban evening, sip your coffee, and think, yes, sometimes the universe has a sense of humor. So if you're out there dealing with your own HOA Karen, remember this: stay calm, document everything, and never be afraid to secure what's yours. Because the moment they overplay their hand, the cable they thought was hidden might just be the one that trips them up. Thanks for listening to my story, folks. Maple Grove is peaceful again, my router is happy, and Linda's fountain is still dry. If you've got your own crazy neighbor tale, drop it in the comments. I read every one. And if this gave you that sweet hit of karma satisfaction, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next neighborhood nightmare. Stay secure out there.